Hey everyone, welcome back to Thought Pairing. Today I'm joined by my friend Suchi, and we're going to be diving deep into leadership and self-deception.
Excited to be here.
I think this is going to be a really interesting one.
Yeah.
Um, what were your initial thoughts on this book?
You know, I have to say, at first glance, I thought it was going to be like a typical business book,
Right. Yeah.
But it really resonated with me. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I wasn't really sure what to expect either.
Right.
But, it really kind of hit home.
Yeah.
Like this idea of self-deception,
Yeah.
as being like a core
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew, right?
Well,
Like how big of a deal that could be. And the book really drives that home right from the beginning with that story of Ignaz Semmelweis,
Yeah.
back in the 1800s.
Hmm.
This doctor who realized that, doctors were spreading childbed fever because they weren't washing their hands.
Yeah.
But they just wouldn't listen to him.
They were so in the box. They couldn't see what they were doing.
It's like that term,
Yeah.
in the box, which is
Yeah.
like, a key concept from the book, right?
Yeah.
Um,
That really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Like that idea that we can be so blind to our own
yeah.
shortcomings and how our actions affect others.
Yeah.
It's like having these blind spots.
Yeah. And that story of Semmelweis,
Yeah.
it's just a powerful illustration of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the consequences can be huge.
Yeah. And it's not just, some historical anecdote.
Right.
I mean, this happens all the time
Yeah.
in the workplace,
Yeah.
We can be so focused on our own perspective
Yeah.
that we don't see how our actions are impacting our colleagues
Totally.
or, preventing us from finding solutions.
Yeah. And I mean, I can see how easy it is to fall into that trap,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Like we get so caught up in our own little world,
Mm-hmm.
our own to-do lists and our deadlines.
Yeah.
And it's like we forget that we're part of a bigger
Uh-huh.
system
Absolutely.
and that our actions have ripple effects,
Right. Yeah.
And speaking of, kind of blind spots and not seeing things clearly,
Yeah.
the book talks about this concept of self-betrayal.
Right.
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 And they give this example of a father, he hears his baby crying,
Yeah.
but he chooses to sleep in,
Yeah.
because he's tired,
Yeah.
even though he knows that he should probably get up and help his wife.
Right.
Have you ever experienced that kind of like inner struggle?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
It's like that moment where you should do something,
Yeah.
but you just don't. And then you end up feeling guilty about it.
Right.
Yeah, it's not about like, judging the father or anything.
Yeah. No, totally.
It's more about that internal conflict
Right.
and how it can lead to like, these negative feelings
Yeah.
about ourselves and others. Yeah.
Like I remember this one time at work,
Uh-huh.
I promised a colleague I would help her with this project.
Right.
But then I got swamped with my own deadlines.
Okay.
And instead of being honest with her
Okay.
about my situation,
Right.
I just kept making excuses,
Uh-huh.
and pushing it off.
So you were kind of like in the box.
Totally in the box.
Yeah.
I was so focused on justifying my actions
Right.
that I didn't even realize how much I was letting her down.
Wow. Yeah, and the book describes that, that feeling of being in the box as this sort of like downward spiral, right?
Yeah.
Where you start blaming others and exaggerating their faults and then, inflating your own sense of virtue.
Yeah.
It's like you create this distorted reality where you're the victim
Right.
and everyone else is the problem.
Yeah. And it becomes a cycle.
Right.
The book calls it collusion.
Yeah.
It's like when you and a coworker.
Are constantly complaining about each other.
Right.
But neither of you is actually trying to address the issue directly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're both trapped in this loop of self-deception,
Right.
just feeding the negativity.
Yeah. It's wild how this in the box thinking can just like permeate so many aspects of our lives, right? Like
Wow.
work relationships, even our families.
Yeah. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So if that's in the box,
Yeah.
then what does it mean to be out of the box?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we are going to explore in part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
But before we move on to part 2, I'd love to hear from you guys. Yeah. Have you ever experienced being in the box?
Yeah.
How did it affect your interactions with others?
Mm-hmm.
Share your thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Thought Pairing
Yes.
for more insightful book discussions.
Excellent.
We'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll uncover the path to escaping the box and living a more fulfilling life.
Sounds good.
All right.
See you then.
See ya. Welcome back to Thought Pairing for part 2 of our deep dive into leadership and self-deception. So we've talked about the pitfalls of being in the box, but how do we actually get out?
Well, the book emphasizes that simply changing our behavior isn't enough.
Okay.
It's about shifting our mindset,
Right.
how we see ourselves and others.
You mentioned self-betrayal earlier. And, I struggle with that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know I should exercise more, but I keep hitting that snooze button.
Oh, yeah.
Does that count?
Definitely.
Really?
Yeah, okay.
It's not about judging yourself.
Okay.
It's about noticing that inner conflict
Right.
and how it might lead you to blame others or justify your inaction.
Okay.
The book argues that when we're in the box, we don't see people as they truly are.
So how do we escape that blame game?
Yeah.
The book talks about taking responsibility, but that can feel scary. It can be,
Yeah.
but it's not about beating ourselves up for our mistakes.
Right.
Instead, it's about owning our actions and focusing on what we can learn from them.
I see.
The book highlights a powerful story
Okay.
about the president of Zagram,
Uh-huh.
a company featured in the book.
Okay.
He had a real wake-up call when his son was sent to a treatment program.
Oh, wow. What happened?
He realized he had been in the box,
Wow.
not just with his son, but with his wife and employees, too.
Wow.
He saw how his self-deception had created a toxic work environment,
Really?
stifling creativity,
Yeah.
driving away talented people.
Mm.
It was a painful realization,
Yeah.
but it allowed him to start getting out of the box and see the impact of his actions.
That's a powerful example
Yeah,
of how self-awareness can be the first step towards change.
absolutely.
So what did he do differently?
He shifted his focus from self-preservation to genuine contribution.
Okay.
He started asking himself questions like, what are the outcomes we're trying to achieve together?
Right.
How can I support my team in reaching those goals?
Right.
This change in focus
Yeah.
is a crucial part of what the book calls an outward mindset.
Okay. Outward mindset.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like in practice?
It's about recognizing that everyone, even those who frustrate us,
Yeah.
has their own hopes, needs, and struggles.
Mm-hmm.
The book calls it seeing others as people.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging that shared humanity that connects us even in the midst of conflict.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on how someone is wrong
Right.
or how they've wronged us,
Mhm.
we try to understand their perspective.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly difficult,
Oh, yeah.
especially when we feel hurt or betrayed.
Right.
But the book suggests a powerful tool for shifting our perspective,
Okay.
questioning our own virtue.
Wait, questioning our own virtue.
Yeah.
That sounds counterintuitive.
Right.
Yeah.
We're so used to seeing ourselves as the good guys.
Right. The ones in the right.
Uh-huh.
But the book challenges us to consider
Yeah.
whether we might be contributing to the problem.
Okay.
To ask ourselves, am I truly acting in a way that aligns with my values? Am I being honest with myself about my role in this situation?
I think that's something we could all benefit from reflecting on.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to get caught up in our own narratives and justifications.
Yeah.
We've talked about the pitfalls of being in the box,
Mm-hmm.
but what does it actually feel like to be out of the box?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
What kind of freedom does it bring?
Yeah.
That's something we'll explore further in part 3.
Okay.
We'll discuss the practical applications of this book's teachings
Fine.
and how we can create a more out-of-the-box culture in our own spheres of influence.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up part 2, I want to ask you guys, who in your life might you be in the box toward?
Oh, that's a good one.
And what might change if you saw them more clearly as a person, not an object? Yeah, share your thoughts and experiences in the comments.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome back to Thought Pairing for the final part of our deep dive into leadership and self-deception. We've explored what it means to be in the box and started to unpack the idea of an outward mindset. But now let's get practical. How can we actually apply these concepts in our daily lives?
Well, the book doesn't give us like a step-by-step guide,
Right. Yeah.
but it encourages a journey of self-awareness and intentional mindset shift.
So it's more about like cultivating a way of being
Yeah.
rather than following a set of rules.
Exactly. It's about developing that outward mindset, being less focused on protecting ourselves and more on contributing genuinely.
One of the key strategies we touched on earlier was taking responsibility.
Uh-huh.
But how do we do that without getting stuck in self-blame?
It's about recognizing our role in a situation without dwelling on the mistakes. It's asking, what can I do to move things forward, rather than pointing fingers. The book shares an example of a lawyer who messed up on a big project.
Oh.
He could have easily hidden his mistake,
Yeah.
but instead he chose to own up to it.
What happened? Did his boss, flip out?
Actually, no.
Really?
His supervisor commended him for his honesty and willingness to learn.
Wow.
This shows how taking responsibility, even when it's tough, can build trust and lead to a better outcome.
That's encouraging. So taking responsibility is one piece of the puzzle. What else does the book suggest for developing an outward mindset?
Another important aspect is being open to learning, even when it's uncomfortable.
Oh.
You see, when we're in the box, we tend to think we have it all figured out.
Right.
But an outward mindset embraces growth and seeks feedback.
I can see how that ties back to self-deception.
Yeah.
If we think we're always right, we're probably not very open to other perspectives.
Absolutely. It's about being curious, asking questions, and seeking feedback, even if it stings a little.
The book also mentions focusing on results. What does that mean in the context of an outward mindset?
It's about aligning our efforts with the goals of the team or the organization, not just trying to make ourselves look good.
Uh-huh.
It's asking, what are we trying to achieve together, and how can I best contribute?
It sounds like this outward mindset can even change how we approach conflict.
Definitely. Instead of seeing conflict as a battle to be won, we can view it as an opportunity for understanding and growth.
So instead of trying to prove we're right, we try to understand the other person's perspective
Yeah.
and find a solution that works for everyone.
Exactly. The book suggests asking questions like, what's going on for them? What are their needs and concerns? We don't have to agree with them,
Right.
but we can try to understand where they're coming from.
I know this all sounds great in theory,
Yeah.
but it's easy to get caught up in the daily grind and forget about these principles.
That's true, but the book argues that the more we practice these outward mindset strategies, the more natural they become.
Okay.
It's like exercising a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it gets.
And the book paints a pretty compelling picture of what's possible when we break free from self-deception.
It does.
Imagine workplaces that are more collaborative, innovative, and fulfilling, and relationships that are more authentic, compassionate, and supportive.
It's a beautiful vision.
It is, and it all starts with recognizing those moments when we're in the box and making a conscious effort to shift our perspective.
I think that's the key takeaway.
Leadership and self-deception offers a powerful message for all of us.
Yeah.
We can contribute to a world where people see each other as people, not objects, and treat each other with respect and dignity.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we have a challenge for you.
Okay.
Choose one area of your life, work, family, or community, and commit to practicing one of these outward mindset strategies for a week.
Yeah.
See what happens? You might be surprised by the results.
I think you will.
And remember, we're all on this journey together. Share your experiences, insights, and even struggles in the comments below.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you.
We would.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Thought Pairing for more deep dives into books that can transform your life. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.